Hello and welcome to this edition of NAF TV. We should have been live, but unfortunately due to technical issues we can't be, so we've recorded the show instead, and I hope you enjoy it just as much. This show is entirely dedicated to the first virtual PSB, because this year, as we all know, is a little different. My name is Julia Hart.
And I'm Lauren Zeringer. We have an inspiring, informative, and entertaining show for you tonight, with videos, interviews, and pledges.
First of all, though, I'd like to thank our very many donors to the PSB, with a special shout out to both KLM and Heineken, who have both supported the PSB ever since its first inaugural ball in 1981, which is quite a long time ago.
Yes, it is.
We're going to switch to New York now, to the home of Andy Bender, who's chair of the NAF board.
Julia, thank you, and good evening to our royal patrons, your excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the PSB 2020 Vision event. My name is Andy Bender, and I'm the chair of the NAF. Thank you all for participating in this special virtual gala event. This is an important fundraiser, allowing us to build bridges between the US and the Netherlands. The year has brought many challenges, which have forced us to become more creative and resourceful. Your participation and generosity enabled the NAF to succeed in its mission by funding and supporting educational, cultural, and business exchanges. Even during this Corona year, we have an impressive track record. Since 2019, we funded 20 students, 42 interns, and organized over 100 cultural and business events. You should be very proud of what we have accomplished. With your support, we are continuing to build bridges between our two countries, bringing people together, facilitating exchanges of ideas, respectfully listening to each other, and facilitating a dialogue. I would like to thank all participants, starting with our patrons, Her Royal Highness Princess Margriet and Professor Pieter van Vollenhoven, in addition to all of our sponsors. Especially, I would like to thank all the people who have invested numerous hours making this event happen, particularly all the members of the PSB Organizing Committee. Switching from a live to a virtual event was not an easy feat, and the team has done a tremendous job putting together this entertaining program. The NAF depends on your support and donations. Without these, we would not be able to have the long list of accomplishments that we're all so proud of. We hope that you continue to support us. You can donate via the NAF website or through this year's online silent auction.
Well, obviously a few technical difficulties tonight, but one thing that has not had technical difficulties is the auction. So continue to bid early and often, as we would say here in Chicago. Lots of wonderful things to bid on tonight. Trips and art and jewelry and other amazing, amazing things. And all of those proceeds, of course, go to the NAF, but really they go to students to study here in the US from the Netherlands, and for US students to study in the Netherlands, to continue the great friendship that has existed for centuries between our two countries. So I invite you to check out thenaf.org, bid, and bid again. And remember, this auction stays open until tomorrow night, Saturday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, p.m. So bid tonight, bid tomorrow morning, bid at lunch, bid at dinner tomorrow, and then as you go out on the town tomorrow night, all you New Yorkers especially, be sure to check out that auction one final time, 10 p.m. Eastern, tomorrow night, Saturday night, it ends. Thanks everybody, so good to see you.
Please hit the button on the screen or go to our website, thenaf.org, and support us. Again, our website is thenaf.org. Before I hand you back to our studio in the Netherlands, I would like to introduce Willemijn Keizer, who is our new executive director. She started 7 weeks ago and has already been a breath of fresh air to our organization. Willemijn, over to you.
Thank you, Andy, for these kind words. And let me join you in welcoming everyone watching our virtual PSB 2020 Vision. I would also like to thank our patrons, our sponsors, our staff, our volunteers, our donors, our board, and all of our participants. It is my great honor to be here tonight with you, celebrating this special event, and with all of you watching at home. Despite the challenges that COVID-19 has created, these are exciting times to join the NAF. The organization has been growing in recent years, adding high-impact programming in the fields of education, business, and the arts to further strengthen the bonds between the Netherlands and the United States. We are also gearing up for our centennial year in 2021, in which we will celebrate our past 100 years and will be charting a path for the future. During tonight's virtual gala, you'll get a glimpse of some of our new programming we plan to introduce during our anniversary year. Remember, you heard it here first. And I cannot wait to update you on many more plans that we have in store for you in the months ahead. But first, let us make a toast. To the Kingdom of the Netherlands and to the United States of America.
Toast.
And a second toast to the NAF's 99th anniversary, to tonight's virtual gala, and to hopefully seeing each other in person again soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Back to the studio.
I assume you all know what the NAF is about, but just to refresh your memory, let's watch this short video.
Being connected is an essential part of our lives. Together works better. It helps us build bridges. Without connection, we are not a global civilization, but merely a group of individuals living on the same planet. Progress relies on our interactions. New and better ideas come from our challenging each other, respectfully. This is even more essential in these times when staying connected in real life becomes more challenging every day. This calls for institutions like the Netherlands America Foundation, which has always strived to strengthen the connection between two nations. It all started in 1921, when a small group of Americans formed the Netherlands America Foundation in New York City. Meanwhile, in The Hague, the Netherlands, a group of Dutchmen did precisely the same, the Nederlands Amerikaanse Fundatie. For almost 100 years, the NAF's mission has been to strengthen the bonds between these two countries by facilitating a dialogue and exchange of ideas to create understanding, respect, and tolerance. Right from the start, the NAF focused on funding educational exchanges for Dutch students and scholars, sponsoring cultural exchanges, and the fostering of business ties. For example, NAF Fulbright Fellowships offer one of the most prestigious academic awards in the United States to Dutch and American scholars pursuing graduate studies in the other country. And then there is the Dekker Paget Dutch to USA internship program. It enables students without the financial means to participate in an internship in the United States. There's also a program for the exchange of talent in art and design, the performing arts, literature, history, and community activities. The NAF's Washington, D.C. internship program provides internships for students who want to get a better understanding of the inner workings and policy development process in Washington, D.C. And there is a unique 3-year interest-free study loan program supporting Dutch and American students at universities in the other country. But there's even more, including a wide network of NAF chapters, seminars, business meetings, and other activities that connect people from all kinds of disciplines across the USA and the Netherlands. All of these programs cost money. Tuition fees are rising. The cost of living has increased, and government funding of education and culture has changed drastically, in the Netherlands as well as in the United States. To continue this beautiful connection established between these two nations so long ago, we need your help. Be generous. Bid in the auction. Underwrite a NAF Fulbright Fellowship. Support a cultural exchange event. Make a contribution of any size. And stay involved with the NAF for many years to come. Thank you.
$1921? That means next year will be NAF's centennial. Wow, what a big year.
Indeed, it's almost 100 years. And right from the start, the Dutch royal family has been a great supporter of the NAF. And they still are. Her Royal Highness Princess Margriet and Professor Peter van Vollenhoven have been NAF patrons for many years now. And they have a very special message for us today.
Dear guests, how different the world looks nowadays. The impact of the terrible COVID-19 virus is enormous, and we can only hope and pray that you got through this period unharmed and remain strong and healthy. So, no Peter Stuyvesant Ball 2020. We will miss our heartwarming encounters with you, as well as the festive Peter Stuyvesant Ball atmosphere.
Fortunately, we can meet you online and experience this evening, albeit in a completely different format. Perhaps in these corona times, the mission of the NAF is even more relevant than before. The exchange programs in the field of education, arts and science, and the fellowships deserve all our support. I therefore ask you, and perhaps more urgently than ever, to help us realize these wonderful goals. In the meantime, we will keep practicing our dance steps to be ready for next year, Peter Stuyvesant Ball 2021.
We hope that next year's ball will surpass all our expectations, so that we together can celebrate the 40th Peter Stuyvesant Ball and the 100th anniversary of the NAF in good health and with great enthusiasm. We wish you all a different, but nevertheless beautiful Peter Stuyvesant evening 2020. To your health.
There are many chapters of the NAF in the USA. The youngest one is in Houston, and we're going to take a look now and to learn a little bit more about them.
Good evening. Welcome to Houston. We realize Houston is not as famous as New York, but did you know that Houston is the 4th largest city in the United States? Obviously, Texas and Houston are known for oil, gas, and chemicals, and especially between Houston and the Netherlands, there is a lot of business exchanges going on in these industries. However, Houston is probably less known for its medical center, even though the Texas Medical Center in the city of Houston is the largest medical center in the United States and one of the largest in the world. In 1969, famous words were spoken from the moon. They were directed towards Houston. NASA has been operating for many years their space operations in Houston, Texas. Diversity and culture. Houston is home to 145 languages. 1 out of every 4 people is not born in the United States. So there's a lot of diversity, and thereby Houston is a very welcoming city. But there are over 500 institutions in Houston that are part of the either visual arts or performing arts. So all in all, we believe there's lots of opportunity for exchanges between the two countries, and moreover between Houston and the Netherlands. I would like to introduce you now to my friend and founder and artistic director of Mercury Orchestra.
Hello, my name is Antoine Plante. I'm the artistic director and founder of the Mercury Chamber Orchestra. Now, several years ago, we started an exchange program with the Juilliard School of Music, a historical performance school, where after they graduate, some students, some young professionals come to Houston and perform with our orchestra for a few concerts a season. And it is in that spirit that we're excited to start now a program exchanging with professional musicians from the Netherlands with the NAF. So we are looking forward to build bridges and opportunities in between these two great communities.
Hello everyone, my name is Sjoerd Hoekstra. I'm the chair of the Houston chapter of the NAF. The NAF Houston chapter is the youngest chapter in the NAF family. Our vision is to create a supporting and engaged NAF community here in the greater Houston area with links to life sciences, energy, education, and the arts community. Our first challenge is to start the Fulbright Scholarship for our chapter. further expanding the opportunities for Texas and Dutch students. Thirdly, for the business community, we are creating network opportunities through our bi-monthly socials. For both students and the business community, we welcome the first Dekker Paget Dutch to USA internship. This internship will be focused on energy transition and climate change, an area where we see real synergies and opportunities between the Dutch renewable energy industry and the Texas traditional energy industry. This is also the focus of our first energy transition event in 2021. We envision bringing together the Dutch leadership in this area and the energy expertise we have here in Houston, the energy capital of the world. All in all, I see a bright and active future for our young chapter, full of possibility, contribution and participation. With that, thank you Ralph and Antoine and the growing team here in Houston, and I want to close with an invitation to all to participate, contribute and make a positive difference through the NAF.
Thanks, Houston. In our webcast in September, live from our studio in Amsterdam, we had both ambassadors as our guests, Piet Hoekstra and André Haspels. The Dutch embassy is always very active in participating in activities of the NAF in the United States. So it's no surprise that Ambassador Haspels has a message for us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to speak with you on the occasion of the PSB. The ties between the Netherlands and the US are strong. However, during this time of a global pandemic, we must continue to work to strengthen bonds with our allies. That's why the work of the NAF and the PSB are so important. By providing educational exchange programs, the NAF strengthen our ties. When Dutch and American students live and go to the university or school together, the world becomes smaller. Lifelong friendships are made that span careers. And these exchange students become ambassadors for both our countries. And this is the foundation of diplomacy. Next year, the NAF will celebrate its 100th birthday. May it continue to thrive and increase educational exchange for many years to come.
As we've heard, granting fellowships to students is so important to the NAF's mission, creating understanding, appreciation and respect for each other's culture. Hundreds of students have taken advantage of fellowships, grants and loans. But what's it like to live in another country? How does your day-to-day life look like? Let's find out.
Good morning, everyone.
It started out like a movie scene.
I am currently still in the Netherlands.
Something straight out of a magazine.
Because of Corona, I have not been able to go to the US yet.
Cross my fingers, you'd come to me.
The new president just got elected, so the whole city is going wild.
So since I'm following classes online in New York, most of the classes are starting rather later in the afternoon because there's a 6-hour time difference. I always have company. Well, my dog is really shy.
After a long day at work, I love to go out to do some sports. And I guess you can see what's my favorite. Well, good night, everyone.
The NAF has gathered many friends over the last 99 years, and almost everyone is an ambassador to this organization. We asked a few of them to explain why the work of the NAF is so essential and important to our time.
The relationship between the Netherlands and the United States is incredibly important, and of course we share a lot of historical ties, we share cultural ties, but also very much so we share economic ties.
I mean, you can go back in our history with all our ships going around the world. Traveling has always been important for the Dutch. We're a small country, we export a lot, we are even one of the largest exporters in the world of all our products and everything we make.
The US established diplomatic relations with the Netherlands, I think back in 1782, and it's one of the oldest bilateral relations, and the NAF builds on the heritage and values and continues the tradition shared between the two countries and looks to further strengthen those bonds throughout sciences, education, business, etc. So continuing the tradition and cherishing the strong ties is really, really important.
Sometimes friends don't understand each other. There's a tendency to lose touch in a way. And I think it's very important, the work of the NAF, that we stay in touch, and that sometimes when friends grow away, there is the NAF and say, okay, now come together and understand each other.
You have to work on it. You have to every time explain sometimes the difference of opinion between the two countries, and that you learn from each other.
Because friendship is also inspirational. Good friends inspire each other, and that's what the Netherlands and the US do.
The students, in fact, are a sort of basis, our foundation, if you wish, for future generations.
When they are young and they are looking in each other countries, there will come a mutual understanding for both people.
I think it's critical to provide people with opportunities and access to a broad network of educational, cultural, and business organizations. These scholarships open doors that may not be generally open and provides opportunities to gain diverse experiences and diverse perspectives that just makes people stronger and better.
When you have a scholarship, you are with the Americans, you are together and you understand what people really are thinking and feeling, and that's so helpful when you are later in your career.
What is good of America is that you have this huge freedom, you have this entrepreneurial spirit, which I think is one of the best in the world. It's maybe a little bit under attack, but it's still something where an American say, I have a dream, and I go after the dream, and I will try to fulfill it. And I think a lot of students are still learning that lesson.
I'm Irish, by the way, but I've been fortunate enough to live in the United States and fortunate enough to live for 5 years in Amsterdam. And I proudly work for Heineken, a Dutch company. And I'm passionate about the progress that's made and what NAF provides, because it provides a platform of not only progress, but also a platform for opportunity. And so the mission of NAF is 100% vital.
One could say in today's environment with all digital and all the different ways and means of communication, physical experience of students studying in each other's countries is still so important.
Especially in these times, we have a tendency to hide in our little corner of the world. And it's so important that we keep reaching out to each other. And that's where you can help us.
One could say after 99 years, you could say maybe a mission is sort of outdated or have become obsolete. But for us as an airline, which celebrated last year 100 years of experience, we still feel that we are relevant. And in that very same way, we believe that the NAF, after 99 years, is still relevant. And I'm sure that the mission, after 99 years, onward to 100 years, is very important today, and it will continue to be so in the future.
We know that these seats carry so much more than a person. This one would have been a dream come true. And this would have ended with I do. This one here would have been the first time Zoe's little fingers wrapped around Grandma's, never to let go. Life has been delayed long enough. That's why we've taken every possible safety precaution to be ready, so that when you're ready, we can get you where you need to be, safely. So now you can make that new start. That weekend with Dad. You can be there for each of the first hellos and all of their ever afters. Getting you there safely is and always has been our highest priority.
Do you notice the commercial of KLM? They are a very loyal sponsor of the PSB, and they are ready to take you anywhere. Let's hope we can go anywhere sometime soon again. And now for what we would call our main act. Let's switch back to New York again.
I'm Raha Hakimdavar. I was a 2013-2014 NAF Fulbright Fellow in Water Management, and I studied as part of my PhD at the Technical University of Delft in Delft, Netherlands. The NAF Fulbright supported part of my doctoral research and really has been a huge part of my life, both professionally and personally. And I have the pleasure of being joined tonight by two fellow NAF Fulbright Fellows. And what's amazing is that between the three of us, we cover a very broad area of expertise. And we are in very different fields, but really the NAF Fulbright is what has brought us together. So I'm joined here by Jet Volk and Aidan Figueroa. So I wanted to, just find out from the two of you what your experience was like, because while I did my exchange to the Netherlands, from the United States to the Netherlands, you actually came from the Netherlands to the US. So I'm really curious to learn about what you worked on during your fellowship year. And yet maybe you could start first, because you did yours actually the same year that I did mine.
Fun, yeah. Well, that will be 2013. So I came to New York to do my PhD. I did my PhD in Speech, Language, Hearing Sciences at the Graduate Center of the City University of New York. And I studied neurolinguistics, how language works in the brain. And my thesis was about how language is, where the meaning of words are located in the brain, and how this part of language degenerates in certain forms of dementia.
That's amazing. And again, I mean, to me, it's amazing to see the difference between our, what areas of work the fellowship really funds. So Aidan, you just started your fellowship, and it's during a very crazy time. Can you tell us a little bit about what you plan to do and maybe what you've done up to this point?
Very crazy indeed. So I just moved to New Haven 4 months ago to pursue a second LLM degree at Yale Law School. So after teaching for a year at Utrecht University and conducting research in Kenya and Tanzania, I'm now looking into the various ways the human rights framework can protect traditional culture. So what I'm hoping to do this year is really go into depth, take courses in my field, and try to gain a better understanding of how important this issue is and how the human rights framework can help achieve the goals I am aiming to achieve.
That's fantastic. And what is it that inspired you to pursue the fellowship?
I think the most obvious answer would be the financial support, which has been great. But I think especially during these very crazy COVID times, the emotional, mental support, the network, the support system that is the NAF Fulbright network has been incredible. So I think that prior to becoming a NAF fellow, I would have said the financial support is the most important part of a NAF fellowship. But I think that over the past 4 months, I can already tell that meeting all the people in the NAF Fulbright network has been eye-opening, amazing, and incredibly interesting.
Absolutely, and I feel exactly the same way, because what's really special about the fellowship is that you really are part of a network. And I think as you move further past your fellowship year, you really start to see the impact of that. So yet, since we started at the same time, we joined the network at the same time, how did that experience impact your life, both professionally and personally?
The fellowship has impacted my life tremendously. I definitely wouldn't be sitting at this table, but I probably wouldn't be living in the apartment that I'm living right now. I probably wouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing right now if it wasn't for this fellowship. So it impacted me in that after my PhD program, I was hired as a postdoctoral researcher at Columbia University. That's where I learned about epidemiological research. I further developed this line of research. I obtained another master's in epidemiology. I'm pursuing a second PhD in epidemiology. And it's all because this fellowship put me on the path to discovering new fields of research and new directions. I've learned a lot during my PhD, for which I got this fellowship, but I also made a lot of connections, both personally and professionally, that have broadened my world, and yeah, really gave me a new perspective on culture, on education, and a lot of personal connections that have helped me throughout the years.
Yeah, what's funny now is thinking about it. So your fellowship led you to Columbia, while mine took me away from Columbia to go to Delft. So it's really funny how, you know, those we're so interconnected through this network. So Aidan, I'm wondering if you could give one piece of advice to someone that's interested in applying for the fellowship or the program. What would it be?
I think one of the most important things I've learned this year is that you really have to find your passion, make sure that you are fully aware what your own passion is, and you're able to tell other people why you're so interested in a specific field or a specific subject. So I think that prior to applying, really question yourself, what is the main reason you are pursuing this fellowship? And I think afterwards, just enjoying the experience. So make the most of it during your time in the US, but especially after that time, as Kat was already explained, make use of the network and the lovely people that are more than willing to hear you out, to give you advice, or just to help you along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to go back on this question. Well, it's what you touched at about culture, because part of the NAF Fulbright Fellowship is an academic exchange. That's correct, but there's also a cultural exchange aspect to it that is, I think, in some ways more impactful. So what are your thoughts on that cultural exchange piece and how that has played out for you since the time that you did your Fulbright?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that the cultural part is so important. As when you get this fellowship, you're not there just going abroad for your own academic experience. You're sort of a cultural ambassador from the Netherlands to the United States, or the other way around. If you're a US citizen coming to the Netherlands, you bring your own culture, but you're also learning about the culture of the country that hosts you. But also, as we talked about this network, there's a huge international network of Fulbright Fellows that come into the US every year and that go from the US to other countries. And you really get integrated through events and gatherings with this network. And I've met so many wonderful fellows from all over the world with whom you make long-lasting connections that become your friends, but also professionally you can interact with. I'm still in contact with them. And it's not just fellows, peers from the same age as you are, but also older mentors and people that can help you and guide you and have been where you are at that point in your life. So it really sets you up with a huge, amazing network that will last you a lifetime.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because as one of the water management fellows, I'm actually one of over 20 since that program began, and that has been one of the most special things that I've really taken away, because it's this network of people first that had the same or similar experience as I did, where they did an exchange from the US to the Netherlands to study water management and are now all working professionally, those that are alumni in the field. So we actually get to work together. And last year, the fellows decided to come together and we organized an event which was actually partially funded by by a NAF cultural program grant. And we organized a 2-day event about water, climate change, and culture and art during New York City Climate Week. So it really is that lasting network that you speak about really is meaningful. So now I just want to end with a fun, quick question. So in 3 words, can you summarize your experience with the NAF Fulbright Fellowship? Aidan?
I would say eye-opening, a roller coaster, and an incredible experience, which is not 3 words, but
works.
Yeah, to perfectly summarize my experience so far.
Very poignant.
I'm a law student, so I'm not good with numbers.
Yes, no, you can write us a document about it. I'm sure. Very
Will
long
do.
one. Okay, and yet.
For me, it would be unique, diverse, and life-changing.
Beautiful. Thank you both so much for joining me here, and thank you all for tuning in. So with that, we just, hopefully we gave you a little bit of insight into how really impactful the fellowship is for the fellows, and it's much more than just a funding mechanism for most of us, if not all of us. You really are gaining from a lot of value from being part of this beautiful and fantastic network. So thank you so much, and hope you continue to support us.
Great stories. Thank you for sharing. Everything is different this time. No national anthems, for example, but that doesn't mean that there are no pasta divas. They recorded exclusively for us a video clip, and it's titled, How Appropriately, Change Will Come.
When your world is cold and lonely, and time seems like it's standing still, what if in your heart you find troubles only? Then remember, it won't always be uphill. Change will come for you. 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 When your hope is gone or tainted all of the hope, and your breath is slowly running out, running out. If the picture perfect life you made is overpainted, and the painting is all you remember, it will always come right back around. Change will come for you. Ooh, change will come for you. Change will come for you. Change will come for you.
Thank you, Pasta Divas. In addition to all the funding activities, there are also other initiatives. For instance, from Dan Adams. He's come up with a great way to involve more young people with the NAF.
Good evening. I'm Dan Adams, and I'm a supporter of the Netherlands America Foundation. I should be, because one of my ancestors was ambassador to the Netherlands. Anyway, back in the 1970s, I became convinced that biotechnology was the most important thing that was going to happen for the next 25 years. That is a completely crazy idea. However, few of us started companies, and before too long, it grew into a major global industry. Now I'm looking around at the problems that are plaguing our planet that require creative solutions. Some examples include income inequality, racism, and global warming, but the list could go on much further. We pretty much know where our leaders stand on these issues, but frankly, they don't seem to be doing much about it. So I thought, do our young people have some crazy ideas that might just work? In order to find out, I set up a challenge grant at the NAF. And the purpose is to solicit essays with the topic, what global problem bothers you the most, and how would you propose it can be resolved? The challenge grant is open to Dutch and Americans ages 18 to 30. There are cash prizes, an expense-paid invitation to next year's Peter Stuyvesant Ball, and a membership in the NAF. The submissions have to be in by June 30th of next year. And we look forward to receiving some really crazy, maybe not so crazy ideas. Thank you.
What a great initiative. You can read more about it on the website of the NAF.
Now we can go back to New York for the last time to Andy Bender and Henk Goutjens, Chair of the PSB.
Julia, thank you. Besides some of the technical difficulties we had tonight because too many people dialed in, they crashed our network, I think we still had a really, really good PSB. Henk, you've been involved with the PSB for the last 14 years. And been the chair of the PSB for the last 8 years. What do you think?
I think this is still a great success after the great success we had last year with 100 years KLM. But, you know, I think under the circumstances with the technical problems, I think we did very well. And people are still bidding very nicely on the silent auction.
Continue to support the NAF, continue to bid, continue to support the relationship between our countries, and we will look forward to gathering together soon, hopefully next year, for the 100th anniversary of the NAF.
Good. I don't want to distract them from bidding, but in the meantime, I want to thank everyone for participating to this online event. First of all, the students who have participated, I find it very energizing to meet these students and have them in my house. Second of all, thank you to Dan Adams for the creative challenge that you put together. I'm looking forward to reading the ideas that our students are bringing forward. And then also thank you for the chapters that have participated in the event tonight. Special call out to Southern California and Houston, who had their own fundraisers this week and are also participating tonight. And then lastly, special thank to Kurt Dijkstra for running the auction tonight. As always, a fabulous job. Thank you, Kurt. And I know Henk wants to also thank a couple of people who have contributed to the event tonight.
Thank you, Andy. I would like to thank our patrons for their continued support, Ambassador Haspel for the great working relationship we have with the embassy and consulate, enabling us to make a difference, Consul General Herman Korlt for making his house available to host a small group of members. Thank you all. Back to Lauren into the studio in the Netherlands.
And one more thing, we would like to bring a special offer to your attention. It's an exciting study trip to the Netherlands, and you can register for it right now.
Oh, and really one more thing. You can also donate to the NAF, and you can find the link on the page in which you're watching this video right now. That's it for tonight. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We sure have. We've had a good time filming it. We greatly appreciate you joining us and hope you have a good evening.